So this is where we're gonna have a cheat sheet for you, and you can always refer back to this cheat sheet as often as you want. But this really creates a place, a category, if you will, for every single transaction that either comes in or out of your bank account as a business owner to help you figure out what you should label it when we're bookkeeping. Because bookkeeping is a lot of just labeling transactions with a certain category name. A lot of people ask what they can deduct as a business owner. And the IRS, they define a deductible business expense as something that is both ordinary and necessary for your business. So ordinary is something that's common and accepted in your business industry, and necessary means it's something that's helpful and appropriate for your business. So as long as an expense is both ordinary and necessary for your business to run, then you absolutely can deduct that on your tax return and save some tax money. So let's look at this transactions key. So we're not going to go through every single transaction here, but important things to know are that the order of this transaction key is in the exact order of a profit and loss report and in the order of how these questions would come up on a tax return. So it's very intentional the way we've ordered this here. And we've got the common categories, we've got descriptions for each of these categories, and we even have some tips here and some links to other helpful places. One of the categories you'll see is called Ask My Accountant. And that's something that you can use whenever you're stuck with a transaction and you're not sure how to categorize it. You can always put it here. And then we've got some probably ones that you're not familiar with, like bad debt. Bad debt is going to be for anything that's over a year past due that you want to deduct because you're never going to get paid, but you did the work already. And then we've got all sorts of other categories here that we did go into depth before. If you were watching our course, we went through every single one. So we won't go through too many, but there are lots of descriptions here to really help you understand what these categories mean while you're doing your bookkeeping. There are a few down here that are not taxable events, but you are going to track them. So you'll see them on the drop down when you're categorizing your transactions. And that's owner contributions, which is money coming into the business from you, and then owner distributions, which is you taking money out to pay yourself as the business owner. And then we've got definitions for these yellow categories here, which these connect to the yellow tabs on the spreadsheet here. So these are things that are deductible on your tax return, but they're not really, they get deducted in a different place on your tax return. So they're tracked separately. They're not part of a typical business report looking at your business activity. They're not really part of operations, but you still get to deduct them. So they are highlighted here in kind of a different area. So we've got charitable contributions, health insurance, and home office, which is a really popular one that people are always wondering if they can deduct their home office. Business mileage, this doesn't include commuting from home to work, but if you're going anywhere to purchase supplies or to see a client or anything like that, you can always deduct your mileage. And then any retirement contributions you make as well. We've got some other helpful tips here. So you're generally going to want to keep any sort of records or receipts for up to 3 years. You can have electronic receipts where you just keep a electronic folder in your email account, or you could do the old shoebox, or you could scan receipts. But this is just great if you're ever audited, that you could be able to show them exactly where you got your numbers. And certain things it's good to even keep more detailed records are like a log for travel, mileage, client gifts, things like that. If you ever get a refund for something that you purchased, there's a special way that you're going to want to enter that on the next tab, which is our transactions tab. And we're going to show you an example of that in just a moment. But I just want to highlight that so that if you don't remember this and you're actually in this situation, you can come right back to this line right here on the transactions key, and it will remind you to always put that in as a negative sign and then just choose the same category that when you originally purchased that item before it got refunded, to choose that same category, because then you'll have a positive and a negative, which will just cancel out that expense to almost make it like it never happened. Another thing is going to be skipping certain transactions. So when you're looking at your bank account and you see that you paid your credit card bill, you're going to just skip entering in paying your credit card bill. So let's say your credit card bill was $1,000 for the month. You don't have to put that $1,000 on your bookkeeping area here in the transactions, because we're also going to track every expense that you have on your credit card, so that what those expenses that totaled up to your $1,000 bill are already going to be accounted for. And the same thing goes if you transfer money from maybe your business bank account to a business savings account, something like that. You don't have to track that as an expense. Like, you'll notice that there's not a category to choose from for something like that. If you don't really understand this or you forget, you can always just put weird transactions like that to the Ask My Accountant area, and then have an accountant help you at the end of the year or at the end of the month with exactly what to do about things like that if you ever get stuck. And then we have a link at the bottom here to go to the IRS website to look at more detail about all the deductible business expenses. You shouldn't find anything there that's not here. These are really all of the types of expenses and transactions that relate to you. But if you really want to just nerd out and dig right in, you're more than welcome to check out that link right here. So let's head over to the Transactions tab.